So welcome to your 5-Minute Friday, and this week I have a dark, deep secret to come clean about. You see, this week, some of you in the comments might have realized I haven't been as responsive as normal, and that is because it's hard to admit I didn't record any videos this week at all, other than this one. All the videos I put out were pre-recorded, and I am a dirty fraudster. You see, I had a friend come over to Budapest I haven't seen in a while, and I didn't have much time online or checking the news alerts. We spent most of the time just drinking whiskey while I tried to convince him that investing into Ripple or any other cryptocurrency will not make him a billionaire. But it seems this is actually the best thing I could have done because the world has literally gone to shit. So here we have it, the end of the world. The Fed is increasing interest rates, the US economy is shrinking, the Android is finally admitting they got it wrong, and a smug CEO is gloating as IPO investors have lost over 70% in his stock. And to finish on a very positive note, none of the above matters because the world has literally started to end. So let's waste no more time as we have little left. Let's start the timer, smash the like button, and let's go. The cries of recession from YouTubers grew louder this week as the US economy shrank for the second straight quarter. The high levels of ravishing inflation are cutting through economies like butter that were already on its knees recovering from a pandemic. Gross domestic product fell 0.9% at an annualized rate after a 1.6% decline in the first quarter of the year. Personal consumption, the biggest part of the economy, rose at a 1% pace, a deceleration from the prior period. Senior economist at BMO Capital Markets said, "The more important point is that the economy has quickly lost steam in the face of a 4-decade high inflation, rapid borrowing costs, and a general tightening in financial conditions. The economy is highly vulnerable to slipping into a recession." Now, the common rule of thumb, even though it hasn't officially been announced yet, is 2 economical declines in GDP, which is basically what's just happened, yet apparently we're not in a recession. You see, the academics over at the National Bureau of Economical Research are the ones who basically say we're in a recession or not, and they're still sort of holding on to a little bit of hope that we're not heading into one, spouting about high levels of employment. But let's be honest, even that's starting to look shaky. Retailers like Walmart and Target have all slashed their profit forecasts, and a slew of tech companies like Shopify have announced in recent plans to cut workers. Even cash cows like Apple and Microsoft has slowed hiring, which will sure be followed by layoffs if the slowdown does indeed continue. And if you remember from a previous video of mine, and if you haven't seen that, you should have subscribed, you will see that I did say there's 2 big indicators that could cause a recession, one being big levels of unemployment, and that should come soon. But it does seem, however, unemployment is the last domino to fall, and if it does fall, we're heading into a recession that could potentially last years. The Fed also increased again at 75 basis points this week, which the market seems to just have, well, shrugged off. It seems interest rates are so last week and nobody cares about it anymore, as we all expect interest rates to continue going up, the economy to continue contracting, and it's all the US can sort of do at the moment. Other than, of course, Joe Biden's revolutionary new plan, which he thought of all himself like a big boy. This act is called the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022, and Biden himself admitted it's basically the same as the Build Back Better plan, just tiny little bits are different. The main thing I want to focus on this bill is the EV credits, because I listened to a guy on Bloomberg, and I really wish I could quote him, but I couldn't find the article. But on Bloomberg Radio this week, there was a bloke on there saying that Biden and this whole EV credits is actually hurting the poor, not helping them. And it makes perfect sense, and I've never looked at it this way before. You see, the poorest people that are getting hurt by inflation in America right now, the lower class incomes and the lower middle class incomes, are driving 15-year-old Civics, or in turn riding the bus to work. Some maybe even on a bicycle or an electric scooter. And if you're riding an electric scooter, by the way, just stop. You look like an idiot. But these people cannot afford a Ford F-150 right out of the factory, brand new, even if you are going to give them $7,500 cash back. In today's market, nobody has 30 plus grand to throw at a new car, especially not that part of the economy that's hit the hardest. So I really do not understand when Joe Biden, in the same fucking interview, says that we are going to tax the rich and famous. We're going to tax the people with over $400,000 income and also give them a tax break at the same time, because they're the ones who can afford to buy a Tesla. Those are the ones who can afford to buy a brand new EV right out the gates. So again, it seems the governments yet again are getting it wrong and living in that echo chamber we all know they are currently in. Please get out, go and walk the streets and see the problems with the real people. Anyway, speaking of smug little Vlad Tenev, who is the CEO over at Robinhood, which ironically is the literal opposite of Robinhood, had an interview recently on Bloomberg, and he's looking super smug in his Gen Z office while he talks about how he's going to revolutionize yet again the world of investing. 1 year on since its IPO, with pretty much every single investor who bought into the Robinhood dream underwater, Vlad said with a smug little face, this year we've shifted a little bit to focusing on the people we already had, which sounds like we're gonna look after our customers for a change. Robinhood's monthly active users hit 24 million about 2 months before its IPO, and since then, it's steadily been falling, currently at around about 14.6 million users by the end of May. I mean, who would have thought it? A broker that was easy to download, encouraged overtrading, got new investors into gambling on stocks using as much leverage as they possibly can, who were then selling these orders to the highest bidder through payment for order flow. And then when these investors lose their own money, who would have thought they left the app altogether? Maybe, I don't know, every fucking person with a brain would have thought this would be the case. But it seems now Vlad is groveling to keep its current users to stop the bleeding user base from declining further. Rather than just entice new people with new stocks and predictions of going to the moon, Vlad is now actually looking on improving its service and looking after its actual fucking customers. I mean, better late than never, right? Oh, and to add on to this, Robinhood have just literally laid off 9% of its workforce to cut costs. And I mean, sorry if it sounds really harsh on Vlad here, but I just really don't like this fella. But speaking of faces you want to pound, the android that is Zuckerberg has finally admitted his mathematical logic may be off, and that Meta, also known as the old Facebook, may become the next Yahoo 2.0. Meta shares this week sank on poor earnings, which were even weaker than the expected outlook. The Zuckerbot said on an earnings call that the macroeconomic situation seems much worse than it did a quarter ago. It said that the company is slowing the pace of investment, pushing out some expenses in response to the slower economy. I expect us to get more done with fewer resources. But the good news is the company is making progress on the monetization of Reels, and it has crossed the 1 billion run rate of Reels related to advertising. But the big bet on Metaverse, Zuckbot said he continues to see a massive opportunity which he thinks can unlock hundreds of billions or even trillions in value over time. And somebody, please come and get your droid, they're drunk. But none of this actually matters because we're probably never going to get to the Metaverse because these pilots have seen something very scary, and it looks like the end of the world is happening. These red dots appeared over the Atlantic Ocean, and it looks like something like Godzilla's gonna climb out and devour us all. And seriously, what the hell are these red dots? And whatever it is, it's clearly affecting the seagulls. As you can see here, Taylor James in the UK is being hate crimed by a seagull on its way to work. He says, basically, most mornings I'm on my way to work to catch the train. I walk down past the back of some houses and I can feel seagulls staring at me and waiting for me to come. And I hope this fella is joking that he's been harassed by seagulls. But if you're not, my man, here's how you catch one. Now the code word is Build Back Better, and while the world is ending, I'm off to get a whiskey. See you soon.